Hare Krishna. This is Krishnendu Das, the founder of Successful Vaisnavas and the creator of the Mayapur Success Formula. So today I'd like to speak about how to keep motivated, a bit about book distribution, and I thought I'd also share some of the books that I've been reading lately and some of my plans. So first of all, about motivation. I had the opportunity this weekend to go on book distribution for the first time this millennium. Yes, millennium. It's been, the last time I can remember actually doing book distribution is probably 1998. So that would be almost 20 years. And it was the 1900s, not the 20,000s, right? Or 2000s, this millennium, right? So before I went on book distribution, I was having a look at this amazing book by Vaishya Prabhu, and I've been reading it ever since. I'd actually like to thank Gokul Leela. She is a devotee from the loft who invited me to come for the monthly Sankirtan festival, which is called the MSF. It's one of the programs from this book. But she knows that I used to do book distribution, as I say, last millennium. So she invited me to speak, to the devotees, and there's a few devotees going out on book distribution for the first time. So naturally I thought, well, I better pick up this book to get some inspiration, and I certainly did get inspiration from it. It's an amazing book because what I like about it is it tells stories about book distribution, contemporary stories, as well as some of the history of book distribution in ISKCON, as well as the principles how to distribute books. And one of the things that I really appreciate about it as well is that it's not focused on tactics that, you should say this, you should say that, specific lines or whatever, or specific ways of distributing books. But it's really focusing on the mission and the reason why we should do book distribution. And, he quotes so many, quotes from Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, showing that this is the tradition, from our Sampradaya. And so when I was talking to these devotees at the loft before we went out on our book distribution, I just said, well, actually there's devotees I don't know, introduce yourself. And so we actually ended up going around the whole room, and each person said how they came to Krishna consciousness and how they, what book distribution I had to do with that. And in practically every case, they either got a book from a book distributor, or they found a book somewhere that had been distributed, and by reading that book, it made a huge influence in them becoming a devotee. And so, from that point, we discussed, well, what's your reason for going out? What's your why? And one of the big points is that, well, we can see that it made such an amazing difference for me. I want to share that with others. And so this idea of the big why is the point that I'd like to talk about in terms of motivation. Because there's a saying that when you have a big enough why, the how will figure itself out. And that's, again, what I was saying about Vaishya Prabhu's book. He put so much emphasis in this book on why we would want to distribute books, what's the benefit of it. And he leaves it up to our imagination, or, the way that you do it becomes secondary to having a real motivation to do that. So if we look at it on our personal level, we can look at it in many areas of our life. In fact, I created a course which is called the Japa Jumpstart, and it's a little short course of about 7 less than 10-minute videos. And in this course, it's describing how we can different things that we can do to help us complete our rounds every day. Just a very simple goal, how to complete 16 rounds. And from there, how we can improve the quality also. But it's a problem which many devotees have told me that they have. How can I get my rounds done? It's such a challenge today when I have so many other things that I have to do. So I created this little course called the Japa Jumpstart. And just a second, getting distracted over here. I created this Japa Jumpstart course, and it's based on the Mayapur Success Formula, which is a formula for helping you to be successful in your life in general, and also if you have a specific challenge. It's a framework that you can go through section by section to help you deal with that problem and find solutions. So in this Mayapur Success Formula, the first module, or the first element of it, is motivation. And it's really about finding your big why. Why do you want to do the thing that you're setting out to do? Just like, today we're specifically talking about, book distribution. And why would we want to go out there? Because it can be challenging. It's when you walk up in front of someone and they say no, that's a challenge to the false ego. So we discussed some of the reasons, and some of the reasons is it helps us to become humble. It's personal development, and of course it's sharing with others, pleasing the previous acharyas, and so on. We discussed many of the reasons to go on book distribution. One thing I'd like to also share about today is looking at how we can do things that match our nature. So in the Mayapur Success Formula, there's also another step, which is M-A-Y. Y stands for you and uniqueness. What inspires one person may not inspire another. We all have different talents and strengths, and so to be motivated, we need to be situated doing something which suits our nature. And I've experienced for myself that I've tried to do a whole bunch of different things, and some things have not been that successful and have not been that satisfied. And I think a big part of it is that I've been trying to do something that I think is the right thing to do, when it doesn't really suit my nature. And I was just reading something in this book itself, which I hope I can find easily, which I'd like to read. It was really quite powerful. I read this just the other day. It says that government leaders are anxious about rising levels of unemployment, and people everywhere are eager for the dignity that comes from an honest livelihood. So this is something that I've picked up a lot, having surveyed many devotees and discussed with devotees, that they want to earn their livelihood in an honest way, and particularly in a way that connects to Krishna's consciousness. But many times they find that they just have to do anything just to get money, and a lot of times it doesn't really connect with their life's mission. So I can really relate to this point here that everyone's eager for the dignity that comes from an honest living. And then the next sentence, but Lord Chaitanya is offering full employment in the most exalted livelihood of all. Why should anyone be worried? Distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. So when I read this, it inspired me a lot just to really reconnect with what's important for me, and that is to live my life where the focus is on Krishna consciousness, and making arrangements so that I can put as much of my energy into that as possible without being diverted into so many other things that don't really suit my nature. So I thought that was really awesome. And then there was also a quote that was relevant as well, where Prabhupada is speaking to Tejas. Let's see if I can just find that quote here. Yes. Tejas Das, January 5th, 1973. Tax your brain for finding new ways and better ways for distributing our books widely. So that also really inspired me, and that's another thing about Vaishesika Prabhu that I really appreciate, is that He's completely dedicated to book distribution, and he's very shastric. He knows the scriptures inside out and backwards and forwards. And he's also very innovative. He's looking at what's a new way that we could try that could help us to distribute books better, or distribute more books, or distribute books in a way that will inspire people more. And he's also open to looking at different tactics or teachers, in the bigger world out there that are not devotees, and seeing how we can apply those principles in Krishna consciousness. Like I know in this book he quotes from Jim Rohn, a famous motivational and success speaker. I forget what the quote was, but it's showing how Vaisesika Prabhu is expert at Yukta Vairagya. He doesn't get contaminated by the materialistic ideas, but he's looking, what are some of the ideas out there that we can use in Krishna's service? So this idea of Yukta Vairagya is something that I'm really interested in. So that was our family business, and relating that to motivation, how we need to have a really clear why that we want to do something. And in order to make it really powerful, I've also been reading another book here. Actually, mostly I listen to audio books, but there was a promotion where they were giving this book away, so I ordered it. Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. So he's particularly famous as a real estate coach, and he's also an infomercial person. He does infomercials and helps people to be successful, like Tony Robbins kind of thing. So in this book, he gives a really nice process that would be worth looking at, which is called 7 Levels of Why. And it basically goes like this. We could say, why do you want to go on book distribution? Or whatever it is. Why do you want to start a business? The question may change, but the process is the same. So why do you want to go on book distribution? Okay, level 1. Because it'll please Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so why do you want to please Srila Prabhupada? Well, I want to distribute books to please Srila Prabhupada because by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, I'll be able to make spiritual advancement. So great, okay, that's the second level. So, third level, you want to go on book distribution to please Srila Prabhupada so you can make spiritual advancement. Why would you want to do that? Well, I want to make spiritual advancement so that I can be a good instrument in helping others. You see, now we're going to another level, and it's like, okay, so why do you want to help others? And then we might say, well, because someone helped me, and I really appreciated it, so I also want to do the same for others. And so on and so on. You go down into the 7th level. Why do you want to feel that appreciation? And it's like, I want to feel like my life has meaning, and so on and so on. It'll be different for each person, but when you go back through the layers and the layers, you can actually go to more deeper understandings. Now, I didn't give it justice right now. I kind of rushed through that process, but especially if you do it with another person, where one person is asking the question, the other person is reflecting, you can find that it actually goes back to some really deep, powerful motivations. And sometimes it might be very personal. It's like, I've just had enough of, the pain in this world or something. We can see in the case of Dhruva Maharaj that his motivation was really strong, but it wasn't pure in the beginning. He wanted to get a kingdom like his father's. He was going to prove it to everybody that he could be better than his father and even better than his grandfather. Right? So it's a materialistic motivation, but he was motivated and he got the result. So I think that a lot of times, particularly the stage someone like me is at, by looking at something that really motivates me, even though it may appear materialistic, can be a good thing to get us into action. The main thing is to actually get into the process with enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, confidence, and patience. These are the things described in Nectar of Instruction. And by doing this, we can get the momentum. From there, we can look at purifying our desires, but the main thing is to start the process. So yeah, this was what I got from this book, The Millionaire Success Habits, is the 7 levels of why, and it really helps you to get connected with your motivation. So again, as I say today, I'm talking about, first of all, I'm Krishnendra Das, the founder of Successful Vaisnavas and the creator of the Mayapur Success Formula for achieving success in a Krishna conscious way. And today, I'm talking about my experience on book distribution and some of the books that I've been reading, such as Our Family Business and this Millionaire Success Habits, how it relates to book distribution, and a lot about motivation and how we can stay motivated and true to ourselves. So I've been reading quite a few other books lately. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I can just give you a quick glance here. This is a classic book from a while ago called The Tipping Point, which is about how ideas, or how little things can make a big difference. It's basically about how movements start and how ideas spread. I'm also listening to another book called Contagious, which is the same principle, but it's a little bit more modern and developed, like how things go viral, for example. I've been reading the Manashiksha, which Urmila Mataji put together, which is a really amazing book for deepening our own Krishna consciousness. So that's really awesome. And again, this idea of how can we spread messages. Like book distribution is about spreading the message of Krishna consciousness. So I'm really interested in studying the subject so that we can help devotees be more effective in spreading Krishna consciousness. And also how we can inspire ourselves within the Krishna consciousness movement so that we can achieve greater things as a society. And finally, there's also this automatic customer. I've been studying quite a lot lately about membership sites and recurring revenue businesses, because I'm seeing for myself that the way that I can create the most impact in our society is if I can help bring devotees together. And to me, the best way to do that will be through some sort of membership program, which the framework is in place. Stay tuned if you're interested to learn a bit more about that. And then finally, the book which is the thing that's really inspired me a lot lately, a lot of glare there, is The Purpose-Driven Church. Now this particular book is a book by the guy that started the fastest growing church in America, at the end of last century. And he's talking about his principles. And a lot of the principles are, based on marketing, but there's also a lot of spiritual principles there. Depending on God and trying to see what God has in mind for us and acting as an instrument for Him, rather than trying to manipulate and think that we're the doer. That's one of the very first points it makes. And in terms of motivation, as that's the topic of today, one of the really interesting points that I got from this book is that Rick Warren said that in his church, they will never create a department. I'll just have a drink of water, 1 second. They'll never create a department in their church just because they think they need it. For example, wow, there's a lot of children coming to our Sunday Feast program. We really should have a Sunday school or something for the kids. Let me see. That Mataji and that guy, that devotee over there don't seem to be doing much. Why don't we get them to do the Sunday school program for the kids? So they don't do that. Even though they can identify that there's a need, they won't just put someone in to do that job. So what do they do instead? Basically, as people join the church, they look to see what is the strength of that person. What are they inspired to do? In fact, in the purpose-driven church, there's different phases that people go through. So first of all, they might come along to a Sunday feast. And then from the Sunday feast, there's a class that explains about membership, what it means to join the church. Once they join the church, then they'll join small groups. And through the small groups, that's where the members, deepen their spiritual understanding. Like in our case, studying Prabhupada's books, Nectar of Instruction, things like the Manashiksha, where we learn to really understand Krishna consciousness deeply. And then from there, the next level is there's a systematic training for understanding your nature. What is it that is my strength, and what's my inspiration, so that every member is a missionary, is one of their sayings. So systematically, as people join, they start practicing. They also go through a training how to spread the mission or get involved in a particular service according to their nature. So this is the point about motivation, is that when we understand someone's nature and we engage them according to their nature, that person will be inspired and be able to really achieve well in that service. Okay, so what happens about the Sunday school that we were hearing about? We need some engagement for our kids, right? This is where the spiritual element comes in. There's that faith that if we engage everyone according to their nature, it'll create a really attractive and positive environment. And we just need to have faith that Krishna will send the right people that we need for the particular service that's needed at that time. So I thought that was again another point about how motivation has got a lot to do with engaging according to your nature. And I'm involved in the Hare Krishna school, and that's one of the really important themes that we have at the school at the moment, is looking how we can engage children in a way that builds on their strengths. Not so much their weaknesses, but their strengths. That's a talk for another day. But it's a really important part of motivation. So, just to summarize, this is a book, as I say, that's really inspiring. I really like the framework that's used in it, and I'd like to share this with devotees and discuss how we could apply a lot of the principles in this book in our Krishna consciousness movement, as well as principles that we find in some of these other books as well, Expert Secrets, how to take advantage of the internet, for spreading Krishna consciousness. It's something which I feel as a movement we're not really doing much. I think we're really a bit behind the times in that area. So I'd like to help in that respect. My business is basically online marketing, and I can see how we could use a lot of those principles to help bring people closer to Krishna, and also help to cultivate our devotee community through using the internet and the technology that's available today. So I'll just wrap up there. This is Krishnendu Das, the founder of Successful Vaisnavas, the creator of the Mayapur Success Formula, and soon to be Empower and Preach membership site for helping devotees to network together and go out and spread Krishna consciousness in new, effective and innovative ways. Thanks for watching, and please give me your comments below. I'd be really interested if any of the topics I've talked about are of interest to you, and if you want me to share more about these type of topics. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to do a Facebook Live every day, maybe not 20 minutes, it might only be 5 minutes, but I think I'm reading so many books these days, particularly on audiobook, and each time I read them I find amazing ideas that can help in different ways in our own personal Krishna consciousness as well as spreading Krishna consciousness. So I thought if I did a Facebook Live every day, I can share these ideas, and maybe it'll give some inspiration to others as well as to myself. So that's Krishnendu Das from Successful Vaisnavas, signing out until tomorrow. Hare Krishna.